Can we go to the Vaqueros hotline? He is one of our favorites. He is the senior national recruiting analyst for On3 Sports and Inside Texas. A great friend of ours. He's Gerry Hamilton. What's up, G?
Not much, man. Not a lot going on this week at all, right?
Yeah, not a lot going on, and we got lots to talk about. I appreciate you doing this. Hey, listen, let me start with this, because I want to talk some Texas and Oklahoma State before we get into some recruiting and what's to come with the portal and everything that you're trying to follow and cover at a very high level. Tell me about Ollie Gordon coming out of Euless Trinity and the type of player he was and what the Longhorns are dealing with. Amazing to me that Ollie Gordon only had 19 carries over the first 3 games. But once Mike Gundy settled on him as the engine of their offense, he might be running his way to the Doak Walker Award.
Yeah, very, very interesting, player and prospect. Look, Euless Trinity wasn't the powerhouse they once were when he came out. I think maybe he was overlooked a little bit. With that being said, he was a 4-star running back. He was the number 15 ranked running back in the country in the On3 industry ranking. He was the guy that Texas offered a couple of days before signing day. And Mike Gundy actually kind of laughingly made reference to that yesterday in the press conference when asked what does Oklahoma State do when the blue bloods like a Texas comes in and offers one of their players late, and it was in reference to Ollie Gordon, and Mike Gundy laughingly said, "Oh yeah, you mean 12 hours before signing day?" So I thought that was actually pretty funny. But Ollie Gordon is a physical back, multi-sport athlete. He grew up in that DFW area on the same youth football teams with some guys on the Texas team. There's a lot of familiarity in this game. There's a lot of guys from Dallas, a lot of guys from Texas on this Oklahoma State roster as normal. In fact, of the 33 prospects that have been drafted in the Mike Gundy era at Oklahoma State, 16 are from Texas, and the majority of those are from DFW area or East Texas. So, yeah, but Ollie was a physical player. He's a long-arm guy. I can tell you this, what happened there this year was they started the season with a 3-quarterback rotation. And Ollie Gordon wasn't the hardest practice player, the guy that was going as hard as other people in practice. And I think Mike Gundy and that staff had to get him to totally buy in. They also had to stop the 3-quarterback system, and they decided on Allen Bowman, and all that happened about the same time. And even though they've had that loss against Iowa State, that's when they started to come together. And when he settled on Bowman, and when they changed the run game from more of a zone scheme to a pull-to power scheme, and that's where they've gone, and that fits Ollie Gordon. And I think Mike Gundy's done a great job of getting that kid to maximize what he can do this year. And like you said, Aaron, he's probably going to win the Doak.
Yeah, Doak Walker Award. It might have been Jonathan Brooks running to that award had he not gotten injured against TCU. And then the season he was having, but we've seen this Longhorn backfield, and that's another side of this game. It's amazing. We're going to drill down on the Longhorn first trip to the championship game since 2018, and Quinn Ewers should be the story. But we're talking about these running backs. Tashard Choice. Steve Sarkisian. They're doing a heck of a job. You cover these guys on the recruiting trail coming out of high school, but so not surprising for you to see a guy like Jaden Blue or a guy like Savion Red stepping in and running the way they were. This has been pretty impressive as the Longhorns with C.J. Baxter going down was down to their 3rd, 4th, 5th running backs, and they still ran all over Texas Tech.
No, they did. And the thing about it is they're all different backs. That's the good thing for Sark, right? C.J. Baxter fits that inside zone scheme. He fits it, and he's got great hands, and he's really good in pass pro for a young back. Jaden Blue, more the home run hitter, right? You want to get him in space. You want to get him the ball on the edges. Now, if you block it clean inside for him and he gets a crease, yeah, he makes a play like you saw against Texas Tech. He doesn't necessarily fit the inside zone run scheme. And people are going, well, he's running tougher. Yeah, he's running tougher. But we're thinking more SEC next year and the large humans that are lined up across from your large humans, and how does that play into it? But if they can get Jaden Blue in space, they can get him the ball out of the backfield. And he can hit that home run on those occasional carry. While he is running tougher, he's never going to be a downhill power back. But he has got a lot of home run, big play, chunk yardage play ability in him. Savion Red just runs pissed off. That's what he does. That guy is angry on contact. He drops his pass. He is not the fastest guy. He might would lose the 40-yard dash contest among the running backs, but that guy runs with a physicality that you rarely see in a great running back field. And so I think the guys coming in, Aaron, Christian Clark, tremendous talent out of Phoenix area. I think he is a big-time guy. I think he fits the scheme perfectly with an NFL running back body type. Jarrett Gibson, Florida's still trying to fight Texas there. Jarrett Gibson, 5'10", 207 pounds, a downhill back, really fits the scheme as well. So Texas has two more guys on the way that are really talented as well.
That's why we love talking to Gerry Hamilton. Gerry, we get in some debates because there are Longhorn fans talking, as they go into the Big 12 title game. It's their last game in the Big 12, regardless of what happens beyond it. And we saw the SEC schedule and the dates kind of trickle out yesterday from Chris Lowe at ESPN, and the showdown here with Georgia in October, the game with Arkansas at Fayetteville, the game with A&M on November 30th. And there are still some Longhorn fans who feel like, hey, why are we moving to the SEC? Why did we make this call? Why didn't we just stay here now that the four corner schools are joining and they've made the additions? We'd be better off here. You've made it clear in our visits that these recruiting hauls the Longhorns are bringing in wouldn't be happening if the Longhorns were not moving to the SEC starting next year.
100%. I mean, look, Cedric Baxter would not be at Texas right now. As great of a relationship builder and coach Tashard Choice is, he wasn't coming to Texas if they were in the Big 12. And that's opened up the state of Florida for Texas in recruiting. It's opened up really Louisiana more so. It's just a different response you get from kids. And then let's be real, like Brandon Baker, the offensive tackle from Mater Dei, who's going to sign with Texas here in a few weeks and enroll early. He pretty much came down to SEC schools plus Oregon and Nebraska. So it wasn't even Pac-12 out there. It was SEC or Big 10. I mean, these kids, DeAndre Carter, his teammate who Texas lost down on the Auburn, he's going to play in the SEC from Mater Dei. This thing carries from coast to coast because these kids have grown up watching the SEC dominate college football, whether people think some of the teams are overrated or not. And look, I'm just talking from a kid's point of view. They see every national championship. They see the awards. They see the NFL draft. And when you put those three things together, you have a powerful force in recruiting. So why did Texas move to the SEC? So they can maximize their force. And I think it's a powerful force when they're winning. And Sarkisian, look, I mean, would Arch Manning have still gone to Texas if Texas was in the Big 12? I mean, maybe, but maybe not. The whole family's played in the SEC. I mean, it's an SEC family if there ever was one. 2 at Ole Miss, 1 at Tennessee, radio shows. I mean, everything's SEC with that family. So Derek Williams last year out of Louisiana, would he have come to Texas if they're staying in the Big 12? I mean, look at the schools he was really considering. They were SEC schools. That's just where this is at. And in the state of Texas, these kids know if you go and talk to them, when they get that initial list of schools when they're 16 years old or 15, when they start getting recruited, I'm telling you, 5 out of the top 7 in most kids' lists are SEC schools. Then you throw in an Ohio State, maybe if they like out West USC. That's just the reality of where recruiting is. And Sarkisian built the staff knowing Texas was going to the SEC to make the most of it.
Great stuff with Gerry Hamilton. Longhorns will play their final Big 12 conference game ever coming up on Saturday. Hey, Gerry, the hire of Mike Elco at Texas A&M, and how does it resonate with you, and how does it resonate with recruiting? I know he mentioned the Texas high school coaches yesterday at his intro press conference. He's going to try to rebuild some of those relationships. That's the main rival and the main recruiting rival, along with Oklahoma. How does Mike Elco resonate with recruits, you think?
I think what's interesting is when a coach is hired, the first thing I do is, okay, let's see what happens after he fills out his staff. Who does he put on that staff? Because that is so key in recruiting. And I think because Elco was at A&M and he understands the state, I think he'll keep Elijah Robinson, which is a key for defensive line and keeping those guys on the team, because there were a lot of Twitter goodbyes being written about 48, 72 hours ago. That weren't published, but they were being written. So keeping those guys, the ones intact that they want to keep in the program, I think that's big. But it'll be interesting to see who he fills out his staff with. Like I said, I don't think he's coming in green with not an understanding of the staff he needs to put together to maximize recruiting in Texas. So I think they'll do fine. I think Mike Elko has enough of a field to do fine. Him himself, I mean, to be determined. There's just not. I think he's good with coaches. How's he going to resonate with kids? I think that really comes down to how many games you win. I mean, he needs to have a good first season at Texas A&M, and he's not coming in with a bare cupboard now. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. They've just got to piece together some of the positions in need. They got to keep their quarterbacks healthy. They got to better on the offensive line. But, I mean, there's a lot of defensive line talent. There's some good young players in that secondary if they all stick around. There's some good young running backs. We'll see what happens with an Evan Stewart. If Damian Craig's not on that staff, maybe Evan Stewart comes back to Texas A&M. Not out of the question, because I think if Damian Craig is retained, there's no chance he comes back. So we'll see what happens with Elco's offensive staff. And I think he understands and knows all these things that I'm talking about, so it gives him an opportunity to have success.
Gerry Hamilton. Last thing, Gerry, you talk to these coaches all over college football and the high school coaches. Is there any way to put into perspective how busy this December gets starting Monday, whether you're playing in the playoff and you're SARC or not, or you're getting ready for a bowl game? The portal, you're trying to close the 2024 recruiting class on December the 20th. That window opens while you're trying to get ready for a bowl game, while you're trying to re-recruit your own roster to keep them out of the portal. That's why we see these staffs continuing to grow with people. You just need as many hands on deck to handle the next couple of weeks starting Monday.
Yeah, you have to have an NFL type of personnel department these days. Mike Gundy talked about it in his press conference yesterday. He said all our coaches after the game Saturday, they won't go back to Stillwater. They'll scatter to go recruit. I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, that Big 12 championship game ends an hour and a half later. You're on the road recruiting. I mean, just think about that. You go back with your team. You're hitting the road recruiting. The portal is madness. Like the linebacker from Vanderbilt, the team captain put his name in the portal. Will Howard put his name in the or announces he's going to put his name in the portal already. I think it's going to be – I'm not sure it's going to be wild this year, but I think it's going to be a little bit more so than last year. I think this is the first year that I think we're really going to test the limits of the portal because just when you see the captain of the Vanderbilt football team put his name in the portal, I mean that's thing you didn't think you would see in college football 4 years ago. And I know, look, he's been there a while and he's got an opportunity to go win. And I mentioned he's a Flower Mound Marcus kid. So I think it's going to be crazy. These coaches, I mean, look, these next 3 weeks for them, like you said, Aaron, and if you're in the college football playoff, I mean, just think about dealing with all that. And the craziest thing, Aaron, is let's say Texas wins Saturday, and let's say they get in the college football playoff. There's going to be kids exiting the program at Texas on a team preparing for a playoff game. That's how wild college football is right now.
Yeah, because they got to, if they're on the depth chart down and they want to make a move, they're going to have to jump in early. It is crazy times, but always good stuff with Gerry Hamilton.
They have to jump in. They have to jump in to get a spot somewhere. You can't wait until January 2nd. I mean, you're too far behind if you're a kid that's leaving a school.
And I'm looking for the spot for you, and that's the way college football works now. I like it or hate it. That's the task. Longhorns will be fine with that, just as they're playing the college football playoff, or maybe getting ready for the Cotton Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl, depending on how things fall on Sunday. Hey, Gerry, thanks so much. Chess Gerry at Inside Texas, of course, On3 Sports, on their YouTube channel as well, On Texas Football. He's got a show coming up at 8 o'clock on Coffee and Football, which is always great. Gerry, thanks so much, my friend. Appreciate you jumping in.
You got it, man. Talk to you soon, Aaron.
All right, there's Gerry Hamilton. There you go. There's your layout. Recruiting, bowl games, portal. It's crazy times. He also gave a good thumbnail on Ollie Gordon, this Longhorn running back room, and the Longhorns move to the Southeastern Conference.